Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nina Khouri. I'm leading the service today as part of the informal lay-led services in January over the summer break. We're also giving Clay and Rachel a lie-in after their wedding yesterday. And it's nice to see so many of you again so soon after yesterday's happy ceremony. We had a bit of a job cleaning up the rose petals from down here. I was tempted to leave them. This is my first time leading the service without Clay sitting over there pointing and mouthing about what I have to do next, so I might need some help as we go along. It's my honour and my pleasure to say our familiar words. Tēnā koutou te whānau o Auckland Unitarian. Tēnā koutou ngā manuhiri. Ngau mai, nau mai, haere mai. Ki tēnei whare karakia o te atua. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. We welcome you into this space made sacred by Auckland Unitarians for 118 years. Might we be able to say 119 now? We're about to enter sacred time. We're about to make this time and place sacred by our presence and our intention. As we turn off or silence our phones, let us also turn down the volume on our fears. To remove our masks, perhaps loosen the armour around our hearts. Do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people sitting around you, you may find that they have the same human needs as you do. Breathe. Let go for this time of the expectations placed on you by others, and those expectations you've been taught to place on yourself. Drop the guilt. Drop the shame, not to shirk accountability, but an honest expectation of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the thing you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Let us be here in this moment. Breathe here. Kia ora. Hui hui mai tātou. Come, let us worship together. And afterwards, let us join together for morning tea. It is our sacrament of hospitality. Please join us. It won't be complete without you. So today, together, we are going to think about new beginnings for the new year, and compassion and wholeness. My hope is that together, through our presence and through our intention as a group, we can create a sacred space for that. For our opening words, I have this Buddhist meditation by Jack Cornfield. In the end, these things matter most. How well did you love? How fully did you live? And how deeply did you learn to let go? Every endeavour begins with a new step and encounters darkness and difficulty along the way. We light this chalice together in anticipation of knowing the dawning of the light, the beginnings of hope, and the renewal of life. We say together, love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is the sacrament, and service is its prayer. To hold together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each other and with our God. Okay, so I'm afraid this isn't going to be a traditional sermon. As it turns out, Derek laid the conceptual groundwork and did the heavy lifting for me in his sermon last week about the gap between hope and reality. How many of you were here for that? Yeah, thanks. So this is going to be interactive. There is work for you to do, and it will only work if we do it together. In a moment, I'm going to hand out some paper and pencils. As we go through, there will be questions for you to answer privately. There'll be an opportunity at the end to share if you'd like to, but you don't have to. My hope in doing this is that we can use this time we have here together this morning, precious time, we all lead busy lives, in this space that we're making sacred through our presence and through our intention together, to do some mental and spiritual work that might see you leave here today feeling lighter. And if what we do doesn't resonate with you, that's okay too. Let's see how we get on. So please take a pencil and a piece of paper that I'll pass around. My hope is that you can lean on your hymn books. All right, everyone got what they need? So, welcome to 2020. New year, new you, right? This is the time of year when we typically think about the year past and the year ahead and what we'd like to change, a New Year's resolution. Personally, this time of year, I am flushed with New Year's resolutions. I have flushed with intentions and resolutions for improving myself and my life and my home. So I return from holiday and I can see all the problems with my house, all the things that were invisible to me, all the cobwebs, all the dust, all the clutter. And I resolved to clear all that clutter and achieve Marie Kondo perfection. I resolved to finally fix my posture. Be a better, more present mother, and of course grow my professional practice. All of those things. From a Google search, the most common New Year's resolutions are to diet or eat more healthily. 71%. It's like the email that dropped into my inbox this week. A healthy new you begins with an Apple Watch. The second one is exercise more. 65%. 3 is lose weight, 54%. 4 is save more and spend less. Learn a new skill or hobby, quit smoking, read more, find another job, drink less alcohol, and spend more time with family and friends. My favorite I got from Forbes.com, the resolution to finally do what you resolved to do in 2019 and 2018 and 2017. Okay, so here's your first task. Please write down something that you would like to change in your life for 2020. All right, your next question, if you're ready. Why do you want to change it? How would that thing make your life better? Write that down, please. Would anyone like more time? Okay. Interestingly, apparently women in their resolutions typically focus on eating more healthily and losing weight, and whereas men focus on earning more and drinking less alcohol. So we could write a PhD right there on gendered insecurities. Anyway, has anyone heard the Buddhist parable about the two monks and the woman who crossed the river? Okay. So here it goes. Two monks, one old and one young, were travelling from one monastery to another. Can you hear me okay? Is volume okay? They were celibate monks, not even allowed to direct their gaze at women. After a long walk, they came to a river which they had to cross. The river was flooded and there was no way that they could get across without getting wet. A woman was also at the banks of the river wanting to cross, and she was weeping because she was afraid to do it on her own. The monks decided to cross the river by walking through the relatively shallow part of the river. Since the lady also needed to get to the other bank, the older monk, without much ado, picked her up, put her on his shoulders, and carried her across. Soon they reached the other side, and he put her down. The lady went her way, and the two monks continued their walk in silence. The younger monk was really upset, finding the older monk's act disturbing. As per their injunctions, they were not allowed to look at women, let alone touch a woman, let alone put her on your shoulders and carry her all the way across a river. They walked on, but after a few hours, the confused younger monk couldn't stand it any longer. The thought of what had happened just kept filling his mind, and he began to berate the other monk. We're not allowed to look at women, not touch them, but you carried her, you picked her up. Which woman? Replied the older monk. The woman you carried on your shoulders across the river. The older monk paused, and with a smile on his lips, he said, "Ah, her. I put her down when I crossed the river, but you're still carrying her." Seems to me that there might be a lesson in here for New Year's resolutions. Research shows that when people fail to achieve their resolutions, they feel guilty and ashamed. They can make us really miserable. And I wonder if there's also a more subtle point. What do our New Year's resolutions stem from? Do they come from some underlying worry or fear or resentment or anger? Do they reveal that we're embarrassed or shy or ashamed about something to do with ourselves or our lives? Do they come from something heavy that we're carrying, like the young monk? For me, my New Year's resolutions, typically when I stop to look at it, and I did in preparation for this morning, stem from feelings of guilt about being a working mother, or about how my body looks. And the problem, of course, is that New Year's resolutions rely on what John Sturrock calls the greatest illusion of all, the illusion that life should be perfect. And on a belief that we're not good enough, not whole, exactly as we are. So now your third question. Take a look at what you've written. Where does that resolution come from? Why do you want to change this thing? Does it come from something heavy that you're carrying? Does anyone want more time? Okay. Here's your final task. Now look at what you've written again. How would it feel if you didn't change this thing? If you just didn't do it? If you just said, okay, this is how things are. If you put it down, if you left it by the side of the river like the older monk did with the woman and his guilt about breaking a rule. So let me repeat the question. How would it feel? Right. Well done. Is anyone willing to share what they've written? Come on. Either sitting there or come up, whatever you like.
I thought about this one previous to today. My New Year's resolution is to call out if I hear racism or misogyny in my midst, because in the past I haven't done, and it's made me feel really miserable. Maybe it's a selfish thing, I'm not quite sure. But if I didn't do it, I'm annoyed with myself. I go away thinking, why didn't I say something? Why didn't I stand up? And actually, it happened yesterday. I was in a group, I'm finding myself retired in a group of white, quite privileged Kiwis, usually in their late 60s, 70s, 80s. And we're sitting having coffee, I won't say where, it was about 20 of us, and this man started saying some racist remarks about Maori. And I could see some eyes rolling, and I'm waiting for someone else to stand up, call him out. And then I thought, hang on a minute, that's my New Year's resolution. And normally I find it really difficult. For me, all my life I've wanted to. So I did. I stood up and I said, look, that's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And that's all I said. I'm sure I could have thought of something. I'm going to try and think of something, more funny or succinct. And I'm very pleased with myself now. And it's done what I wanted. So that's mine.
Anyone else? That sounds like a resolution worth holding on to.
I don't know if it's one of the, as I've mentioned before, I've got prostate cancer and I've been taking an anti-testosterone medication. And I'm beginning that's had more effect than perhaps I thought it had, because my two resolutions were the two that you mentioned as typically female.
My New Year's resolution is 1, declutter, focus on health, and focus on family. I'm making those resolutions to clear my mind and establish doable goals. It is a need to spend my last years of life at peace with myself and my immediate surroundings, a tidy mind. I would feel disappointed if I had less resolve than I credited myself with in achieving these things.
Thank you, Nina, for a very illuminating exercise.
We're not done yet.
I'm not going to go into specifics, but I did like the process, writing the goals, and then some of them can be lofty, others are more personal, and then seeing where they come from. I think I've got to go back and say that it's guilt because I haven't done them before. And then what would happen if I didn't do them? So first thing, my immediate thing was, oh, it'd feel wrong not to have done it. And then I thought of the story of the two monks. If I just let it go, then maybe it'll happen, and maybe it won't. But if it happens, it'll happen with good intent, rather than with this expectation, I must do this, and then I'll, might be a good person or something. So I quite like that. I like the letting go and then thinking that if it happens, then it rolls into intent of what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. I particularly like the last question, which suddenly I came to a realization. My goal for the year, and it's been last year and the year before, is to declutter, as Gary was saying. Why? Because I wouldn't want my sons to have to deal with what I had to deal with when my mother died. And then I think, well, what would happen if I didn't do it? And I suddenly felt really quite liberated. And I thought, well, they can do what they've always said they'd do. Get a big bin and put it all in there.
Thank you all. When I look up there, Principle 2 tells us about compassion in human relations. And that applies to compassion towards ourselves too, right? Easier said than done, I find. You know, the best definition of Christian grace I've ever heard was this. And I heard it when I was studying in New York, so you please forgive the slightly sort of sense of Manhattan shrink talk of it. But it goes, I'm not okay. You're not okay. And that's okay. The point being that we can be whole right now. So, let's now finish with a minute's silence together. Close your eyes, and if you wish, only if you want to, but if you wish, let that resolution go. You are whole as you are right now. We'll do it together with our presence and our intention in this sacred space. And at the end, I'll ring the chime. If anyone would like help leaving their resolution behind or in achieving your unresolution, I have up here a steel box in which you may leave your paper if you wish as you walk out of here today. I promise I will keep it private. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you everyone for allowing me to lead today. It is an absolute privilege. Our closing words are by Andrew Pakula. There are miles behind you, and many more ahead. As you journey on towards wholeness, may all that is good and true guide your way. May the joy of love lighten every step, and the miracle that is life be ever in your sight. Amen.